Alright, what's up, yins, guys? I'm going to read one more chapter of this here book. And I just picked the chapters at random, like I said, and see what speaks to me first. And this chapter, take my piece of paper out as the bookmark. The end, the beginning. The end, the beginning, quite a title. And it's actually the end of the book. The very final chapter. But like I said, if I read everything cover to cover like that, I'd probably, the very beginning, in some cases, I might just lose people or whatever. So might as well just read this as I go, and just whatever chapter I feel like. And this reminds me so much right now reminds me of the mainstream media propaganda, commercial propaganda on television, if you will, even though this was written a very long time ago. So the author of this book does kind of sum it up in a way, and this can go hand in hand with a lot of stuff you're looking at on YouTube, and it can be, once again, but only, like I said before in other chapters of this book, written before the social media, internet became the big thing, and TV media and advertising just adds to it. You know, now you've got the social media, and once again I say, you've been with me in my other chapters I read. If only the author of this book saw what social media was doing, and he would really like to consider writing this book again, and for these times, you know what I mean, because it's just funny as hell. But all right, let's get to it. It says, several years ago, and this is going to be several more years ago, but he's saying in this, the author is saying several years ago, I mean, he means several years ago from when he written this book, but now this is few decades ago. But anyway, several years ago, a motion picture impacted on the American consciousness, forever changed our attitude toward the media. And this was before you even had social media. The author wrote this book. It brought out into the open the deception and manipulation, the bullshitting, the author puts in parentheses, of the public, which has also confused and frustrated us. The film, of course, was not only about the media, but about the media as a microorganism of all business and society. However, there were so many who rejected the film because they thought it was an unrealistic and extreme. They just could not believe the scenes depicted were possible. Network is Patty Shevsky's searing, savage, satirical look at the misuses and abuses to which the power of television can be put when those in command become crazed with greed and starved for profit. It is also about power, the power to control the mind. Specifically, the question Shevsky poses is, how far is an ailing network prepared to go in the exploitation of the public tastes and trends to regain and hold its vast audience? Howard Beale, an anchorman whose low-rated news slot is about to be canceled, cracks up on screen and tells his audience he is going to blow his brains out right on air a week from today and Tuesday. There is an uproar. They get Beale off the air immediately, but he pleads with his boss to let him go back on the air, and immediately he apologize and make a brief farewell statement. I have 11 years at this network, Max, he said. I have some standing in the industry. I don't want to go out like a clown. Out of the regard for their old friendship, Shoemaker, Beale's boss, agrees to give Beale 2 minutes on television to bow out with dignity. That evening, Beale reappears on the show and begins. Good evening. Yesterday I have announced on the program that I'm going to commit public suicide, admittedly in an act of madness. Well, I'll tell you what has happened. I ran out of bullshit. Although there is chaos in the studio, Shoemaker refuses to cut him off in the air. I'm leaving him on, Shoemaker shouts on one of the telephones. He's saying, Life is bullshit, and it is. So what are you screaming about? And Beale continues on the air explaining exactly what he feels about life is bullshit, ending, I don't have any bullshit left. I just ran out, you see, for saying that life is bullshit on TV. Beale becomes somewhat of a folk hero, quickly cashing in on his notoriety. Network executives take over Beale and his news program, advertising him as the mad prophet, unveiling against the hypocrites of our time, and urge him on to continue doing his angry man thing. Beale was a hit. Ratings go through the roof, but Beale is actually on the brink of madness. Some would say that he is sane and the rest of the world is mad. In one of the most intense moments in the film, Beale says to his audience, he will know things are bad. Worse than that, they're crazy. And he proceeds to list some of them. Shopkeepers forced to keep guns under a counter, punks running wild in the streets, the dollar doesn't buy a nickel's worth, the air is not fit to breathe, and the food not fit to eat, while we, the people, sit in front of our TV sets listening to a newscaster telling us today we have 15 homicides and 63 violent crimes, and that the way things are supposed to be. All I know, says Beale, is first you've got to get mad. When should I get my hair in my face here? Excuse me. All I know, he says, Beale, first is you've got to get mad. You've got to say, I'm a human being, goddammit. My life has value. I want you to get out of your chairs and go into the window, he exhorts his unseen audience. Right now, I want you to open it and stick your head out and yell. I want you to yell, I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore. The glorious and exhilarating scenes that follow the accompanying thunderstorm, when inspirited by Beale's message, window after window goes up over New York and people yell out from their hearts, I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore. It is like a significant volcano erupting its suppressed energy skyward into the constellation of light and force that all change its surroundings. It is like a magnificent volcano erupting and suppressed energy skyward, ending a constellation of light that will force changing into its surroundings. Although the public's response to Howard Beale's plea to get angry was fictional, fiction and the artists who create it not only have a way of mirroring everyday life, but of foretelling events long before their occurrence. In the films of Stanley Kubrick, Dr. Strangelove, Clockwork Orange, 2001, he points to the insanity of nuclear energy and, in the wrong hands, senseless impersonal violence as the commonplace, and technology ultimately wagging the human being instead of the humans controlling technology. Reality has made these and other artists' perceptions accurate to the uncanny degree. Network 2 has been prophetic. He's talking, in parentheses, the movie, he's talking about a movie named Network, so that's why he has network in quotations. Network 2 has been prophetic. The public has become mad as hell and they are willing to not take it anymore. So if you want to look up on the internet or Clockwork Orange and a movie called Network, I guess he suggested. And you know what, Netflix I don't even think was around yet, or was it? It has not, it is not just people in the United States who are calling for a nuclear freeze, but the world. It was not only our leaders who put an end to the Vietnam War, but the public. It is the mad as hell public that is demanding that science, technology, military, corporate America to be more responsible. The point is that seemed etched in the stone of irreversible was changed. However, we must be changed, and how it must be changed demands that we first clear away the bullshit surrounding life and death issues. When Shoemaker, the news executive, answers to higher ups after allowing Beale to continue on the air, where he tells his audience he's just run out of bullshit, he says to them, well, life is bullshit, implying that is the truth. But life is not bullshit. There is bullshit in life, but that does not synonymize life as bullshit. Life is important, constructive, joyous, enlightening, caring, and a lot of other things of value. Sure, bullshit has trivialized it, corrupted it, made it cynical and false, and I am pointing out the beginning of this book, cancerized the body, but we are not dead yet. We are not, and as long as you and I and other person refuse to bullshit, there will always be enough of us to reverse this trend. But it has to start with you and I as individuals, because while we cannot control others, we cannot control ourselves. And more importantly, within each of us is the power to be moral and exercise a choice for good. There was a time that I opted on the side of bullshit. I said to myself, is that the way the game is played? Then I'll play it by their rules. And I was successful by material standards. I had a luxurious home, fancy automobiles, the best hi-fi equipment, beautiful clothes, security, and position. But I had become cynical. I could no longer accept other human beings at face value. I could no longer generally interact with them. I had become emotionally stunted. As a matter of fact, when I shaved this morning and had to look at myself in the mirror, I did not like that person. I remember a sit-down dinner at a party of friends and family. The surroundings were attractive and comfortable, the table laden with exquisite foods, and most everyone in good cheer, and yet I felt lonely, alienated, and isolated, even though my guests and hold on, I almost lost my place. I could not accept feelings to be genuine. I had become so cynical, constantly questioning their motives, suspecting some base or greedy person for their play acting at the moment. I knew I was in deep trouble. While I had solved the practical problems of life, I had done it at the expense of family and friends. I could no longer accept direct and sometimes simple, honest communication nor their love. To pause this for a second, I actually read the Apocryphal books, the books of Enoch. There was a verse there that you could have one may adorn themselves more like a girl with gold and gold and silver, and put on more adornments than a girl in majesty and power, and food be poured out all over the place like water, but because of this you will have knowledge nor wisdom, and through this you will be destroyed. That's just a pause that actually comes to mind, but I'm going to continue reading here. Okay, and a long trek began to emotional health. I have evolved the philosophy that could function and prosper in this world without becoming one of them, the bullshitters. I could not remain innocent, of course, nor naive, nor could I remain blinded to the true intention or motives of other people. In other words, I had to see clearly and accurately defend myself properly. If I had become involved with a bullshitter, I had to walk away from the situation. If I could not walk away from it, I had to bring reality and truth to the forefront as quickly as possible and let the chips fall if they may. If my life and livelihood were involved, then I had to measure the loss of my power, integrity, self-respect, and dignity against any material gain I had to make. Most often I concluded the price was too high to pay. But more importantly, I also found there are many, many people who share my philosophy and values. There are people who believe in honest communications, true and loving feelings, who have maintained integrity, self-respect, and dignity. The struggle, however, has to begin with you. The ultimate bullshitter is the person who bullshits himself. While the saying, "To thine own self be true," may be a cliff, it is nonetheless the best advice one could be given. If you are straight, truthful, and honest with yourself, it is much easier to be truthful and honestly with the next person. This is not the complete solution, of course, because bullshit has become firmly entrenched and institutionalized. When Howard Beale's ratings went up as a result of his disclosure to commit suicide publicly, along with his speaking honestly, the TV network took that and corrupted it by calling him the Mad Prophet and allowed him to go fully into madness before millions of viewers. It did not matter to them whether they sold honestly madness, violence, or manure, as long as it brought advertising dollars, anything for a buck. So whether it is television networks, government, business, education, religion, the military, science, or technology, anything that has become institutionalized, the only way they are going to change is with you, along with millions of others demand the change. The vicious circle can be broken, but only if it begins with you. To thine own self be true. Get angry, stop bullshitting, and stop others from bullshitting. See clearly and accurately and face them with the truth. So that is the final chapter of the book. But there will be other books, other chapters I'll be reading randomly. But this whole chapter deals with a movie about a fictitious situation there that was trying to send a message. But I'm wondering if you guys got this far, if you could think of other similar movies. That would be kind of cool, but it would be close to that. But there you have it. There is a another chapter read. Like I said, this is the end of the book, but this is not the end. I just read the end randomly, and I will read a few more of these chapters again. Stay tuned.